Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not looking at policy, not looking at tech.
No.
We're analyzing that raw, primal fear that comes up when everything you rely on just gets stripped away.
When civilization vanishes.
Exactly. We're going deep into the American wilderness to look at three true accounts of terror, stories where being alone turned into, well, absolute dread.
And these aren't just ghost stories. These are firsthand reports from people who went out looking for solitude.
Right.
And found something calculated, predatory, and very, very real. Whether that threat was human or, something else entirely.
So our mission today is to really get into what's happening in these stories, the psychology, the chilling similarities between them. What happens when you're truly on your own?
Where do we start?
We're starting in the Manangahila National Forest, West Virginia, with an encounter that really defines the danger of being isolated. So this first account comes from a solo hiker, someone who knew the woods, who, deliberately went off trail.
Comfortable out there.
This was October, the weather was perfect, but about 4 hours in, they ran into a problem that a first aid kit just wasn't going to solve.
And that confidence, that experience can sometimes work against you. You trust your skills, so you're maybe less wary of an external threat.
That's it. That's exactly what happened here. The hiker comes to this gorge, maybe 30 or 40 feet deep, rocky creek at the bottom.
Unclimbable walls.
Totally unclimbable. The only way across was this huge fallen oak tree that was wedged across the gap.
The classic wilderness bridge.
Right. The bark was worn smooth, so others had used it, but it was still a huge risk.
That's a moment of total vulnerability. You're exposed, you can't move fast, you can't defend yourself.
So the hiker gets across, heart pounding, the adrenaline starts to fade, and then, just as they're starting to relax, this rhythmic thunking sound starts.
From where?
From the side that just came from.
Oh, no.
They turn around, and there's a man, older, maybe in his 50s, wearing a ratty camo jacket, old jeans, and he's holding a full-size axe. And before the hiker can even say anything, the man walks right to the base of that tree bridge and just starts swinging.
So this is it, the shift. The danger isn't the environment anymore.
No.
It's calculated human malice. The act of targeting the only way back that suggests a plan.
That is the key here. It wasn't random. The hiker watches as one swing sinks deep into the wood and the whole massive tree groans and shifts.
The bridge is now compromised.
Completely. The hiker starts screaming at him, what are you doing? Stop, you're stranding me.
And the man's reaction.
He stops, he looks up, and he says, that's not my problem.
Wow. The lack of any emotion there. It's not anger, it's like a procedure.
Yes. Yeah. Just total casual indifference. The hiker keeps yelling, trying to, appeal to him. And the man just puts the axe down.
Puts it down,
steps a little closer to the edge and says, with this chilling certainty, I know these woods a lot better than you do.
That is psychological dominance. He's not just saying he knows the terrain. He's saying he has absolute control over the hiker's fate.
And then he just picks up his axe, turns, and walks back into the woods. Gone.
Leaving the hiker completely trapped. No cell service. Staring at this splintered bridge they can't trust. The only option is to walk downstream along the gorge, hoping it gets easier to cross. But it doesn't. No, as the sun starts to go down, the gorge only gets deeper and the gap gets wider, and just when the panic is really setting in, they stumble into a clearing. And it feels wrong. It feels immediately wrong. That's what they said. There's a fire pit recently used, but the trees all around it. What about them? They're covered in these deep gouges, these symbols, not just initials, but like complex patterns, ritualistic. Territorial markings. And all around there are these rusted tools, bits of cloth tied to branches and animal bones arranged in patterns. So we've moved from a lone threat to something more organized. This is a group with a belief system. Yeah. And they're marking their territory. The hiker just bolts. Runs from the site, and that's when the footsteps start. It was stalking. Yeah. They stop, the footsteps stop, they speed up, the footsteps get closer. Then they catch a glimpse. Oh. Figures. Multiple figures ducking behind trees, fanned out. They were herding them. It's a hunting tactic. Exhaust the prey, force them down a specific path. And the path was a narrow strip of land with the gorge on one side. They were being funneled. Then the figures stop hiding. 3 of them. And they charge. They start running and screaming these war cry type yells. The hiker is just running on pure adrenaline when they see it. Way out. A second fallen tree. Much smaller, looks totally unstable, but it's the only chance.
They take the gamble.
And they make it.
Miraculously, they make it across. They look back, and there are the 3 figures. All filthy, all looking like the first guy. One of them actually reaches out, touches the log.
But doesn't follow.
Steps back. He just looks at the hiker and tells him to get the hell out of there. And then he says one last thing. He says they got lucky.
Got lucky. That confirms it was all orchestrated. They weren't just being chased. They were being driven to a specific boundary. And they were allowed to cross it.
The whole thing was a message, a warning. The hiker was convinced the Axeman knew exactly where that site was, where the second crossing was, and was watching the whole time. So let's take that feeling, that sense of an unnatural, organized threat, and go north, way north, to the remote forests of northern Minnesota.
Where getting lost is a much more immediate, life-threatening danger. The environment itself is a bigger threat.
Or so you'd think. This hiker, again, preferred unmarked trails. 4 hours in, they get that sick feeling they're lost. And then the rustling starts.
Matching their pace.
Exactly. They stop, it starts. They start, it starts. It wasn't a deer. They were being stalked.
That's a terrifying moment. Is it animal? Is it human? You just don't know.
Well, they found out pretty quick. The rustling just erupts into movement, and suddenly they're surrounded. 6 or 7 wolves, snarling, ready to attack.
The rational fear, be a meal.
Exactly. The hiker pulls out a knife, just preparing for the end, and then the most impossible thing happens.
What?
Every single wolf goes completely rigid at the exact same time, ears up, all staring in the same direction, right over the hiker's shoulder.
Staring at something else.
And then they just scattered, a full-on sprint, gone in seconds. Like they were the ones being hunted.
That is the turning point. When apex predators run, you've crossed from normal danger into something else, something truly dreadful.
And after they were gone, the woods went silent.
How silent?
Completely. No wind, no birds, no insects, nothing. The hiker said it was like someone had flipped a switch. Even the light felt wrong, dimmer.
You hear with that sudden silence in a lot of these kinds of stories. It's often linked to some kind of unnatural presence.
Yeah.
A sign that something is profoundly wrong.
So now they have this impossible choice. Do they keep going in the logical direction toward whatever just scared off a wolf pack?
Or follow the wolves and get even more lost?
They chose to face the unknown. It was still daylight. 20 minutes later, they find another clearing. And again, it was all wrong.
The same pattern. Intentional, unnatural markings.
Yes. Symbols carved into the trees, a fire pit made of carefully stacked stones, and hanging from branches were small animal bones, tied up with these twisted, rusted bits of metal.
Disturbing.
But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the smoke.
Smoke.
A thick black smoke, just hanging in the air, motionless, about 6 feet off the ground. It wasn't coming from the fire pit. It wasn't moving. It just hung there.
That is deeply strange. Defying physics.
And the psychological effect was immediate. The hiker said they felt detached, like they were watching it through a window, and they were filled with this overwhelming feeling of grief and terror mixed together.
That's a very specific emotional response.
They stood there just frozen for maybe 5 minutes. When they finally broke out of it, they just ran blindly. And this is the most chilling part of the story.
Yeah.
The memory of the escape is foggy. It's a blur. Now, usually, moments of extreme fear are burned into your memory, right?
Absolutely. Hyper vividly.
The fact that this memory is gone, it suggests something else was at play. Either a total psychological shutdown or that whatever was in that clearing had a direct effect on their mind.
The memory loss itself is the evidence. It's terrifying because it means for a period of time they weren't fully in control.
Okay, for our last account, we moved to the Ozarks in Arkansas. And here, the threat is very human, and it escalates from stalking to outright violent confrontation.
A different kind of terror, more direct.
This was 4 high school seniors on a camping trip. They actually had a handgun with them, a Taurus G2C. Their parents had insisted.
So they were prepared for trouble.
They thought they were. The first sign was a man just standing in the trees, staring at one of the girls, Anne. He didn't move until one of the boys, Colin, screamed a threat at him. Then he just ran off.
A probe. Testing their reaction.
A bit later, they see a second figure. This one was a freakishly tall, skinny woman, at least 6'5", just staring at them from a distance.
That is unsettling.
She only left after they yelled and made it obvious they had a gun.
So they're being watched, assessed. The stalkers know they're armed.
But the kids, they're teenagers. They try to laugh it off later that night, saying it's just hillbillies on drugs. That laughter stopped when they were in the tent and heard someone laughing outside.
And it wasn't one of them.
It wasn't Colin.
They sobered up instantly.
The safe space has been breached. They know exactly where you are.
They grab the gun, fire a couple shots in the air, yell threats. They hear footsteps running away, and for the rest of the night, they take turns on watch.
Art.
They decide to leave the next day, cut the trip short, but they stay one last night, closer to the trail exit, and that's when they notice something.
What's that?
The parking lot had a ton of cars in it, but on the trails, they'd only seen one other group of hikers the whole time.
That is a huge red flag. Where are all those other people? It suggests the woods aren't empty at all. They're occupied.
In the middle of that last night, the narrator has to go pee. They take the gun with them, just in case. They step outside the tent. The headlamp beam catches movement. It's the lanky man from the first day, but this time he's close.
Oh, no.
And he's holding a machete, and he is charging right at them.
My God.
The narrator just screams, brings up the gun, and empties the whole magazine. They hear the man yell and see him fall, and then they hear more sounds, people running away in the darkness all around them.
A full-on ambush.
They didn't wait, they didn't check on the man, they didn't call the police, they just ran.
Survival instinct.
They ran the last 3 miles to the car, left the tents, left everything. The fear of the rest of the group coming back was greater than anything else.
And that's the chilling part.
Okay.
Because they fled, they never reported it.
Yeah. And the story ends with the narrator saying that the group consensus is that because nothing ever made the news, those psychopaths are still out there. So when you look at all three of these accounts from totally different parts of the country, the patterns are just undeniable.
You have calculated malice. The herding, the territorial markings, the surveillance. It's organized.
And in the Minnesota story, that malice seems to bleed into something. Well, something supernatural. A threat that can terrify wolves and leave physical, impossible evidence like that smoke.
The fear becomes physical, whether the source is a man with an axe or something you can't even comprehend.
It really makes you wonder, what is actually out there beyond the trails we all stick to? Is the wilderness really empty, or is it just quiet, waiting?
A terrifying thought.
It is. Thank you for joining us for this chilling depth dive into the darker side of true encounters. If this terrifying journey resonated with you, please hit the like button, share this deep dive with someone who appreciates true horror, and subscribe to the Horror Docs channel for more true horror stories.